Hello and welcome to The Mustard Show. We're partway through the week and cooking on gas because we've got a fantastic show for you tonight. But before we crack on with the show, Darren, you remember last week when you visited North Norfolk in search of the West Runton Mammoth? You remember your trip?
I told you I didn't want to talk about it, Beth.
And you remember how excited you were that you found one tiny rock thing?
It was a massive bone from a mammoth, but...
You know what it's not as good as? The West Runton Rhino, which has now been found.
Can you believe it? A week after we were there filming, where we were stood, they found a rhino, an Ice Age rhino, where we were stood, literally.
You looked all day.
I think we can claim it. They found the teeth, the skull bone, everything.
You can't claim it at all. It was Martin Warren who found it. You can't claim it at all.
Yeah.
You were there.
I will find you, Martin, and I will hunt you down. That's mine. Honestly, only joking. I'm really pleased for you. Devastated.
Here is what's coming up on the show. In the absence of real snow, Tom Vince and Dan Bancroft hit the slopes of Trouse for a spot of snowboarding.
We hear the story of the lifeboat that saved dozens of Allied forces from Dunkirk, now being restored to make the journey once again.
And we don our spiky hats and set sail as we meet the man behind this year's Sheringham Viking Festival. You'll be all right. You'll be all right. Cheer up, because our first guest tonight is a man who has lived his life through a lens.
Yeah, as one of the world's most renowned rock photographers, Nick Elliott has captured iconic images of the stars from across the industry.
Alice Cooper, Status Quo, the Manic Street Preachers.
Brilliant.
Believe me, the list is seemingly endless.
And now we welcome him to what I would imagine is the most rock and roll scene he's ever visited.
Definitely.
The Mustard Show sofa. Hi, Nick. Thanks for coming in.
Good to see you.
Thanks for coming. I mean, you've worked with a whole host of stars over the years, and we're going to put a list up of exactly who you've worked with. But is there any ones you can pick out in particular be your favourites? Do you have favourites in the industry?
Yeah, I have favourites, but well, really, I look towards the next thing. It's not so much looking back with me; it's more a case of looking forward.
Yeah.
You know, one of the most common questions is, "What's the best photograph you've ever taken?" Well, I haven't taken it yet.
Yeah, I like
see, that's good.
You know,
that's a good mentality
it's
to
all
have.
all a history thing with me.
But
Let's
talking of
look at
looking
this
back,
list,
yeah,
yeah.
let's take a look at this list. We're going to put it up for you. Now,
It's
just keep
incredible.
scrolling as we chat.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Because we're still on the A's right now, and it's already almost filling the screen. So what we're going to do, we're just going to let that carry on.
Alice Cooper, Amy Winehouse, big names in there.
Huge names in there. So you won't pick a favourite, which I think is completely fair, but you must know some serious secrets because you're touring with these people.
Yeah, I know a lot of serious secrets, but I never talk about that. Never talk about that. It's just a policy that I've kind of always, you know, lived my career by. People always ask you the question, you know, what's it like to meet Ozzy, or what's it like to, you know, hang out with whoever? But to be honest, you know, this is my life. I've dedicated my whole life to this.
That's it. We're only on S still at the moment, so we'll keep going through those.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some incredible names on there.
With the industry that you're in now, are you finding it more difficult because, like you said, anybody can kind of take a photo now, can't there? There's lots of things to help there with Instagram and special effects.
Yeah, there is. I do have a kind of issue with the whole digital thing. You know, the kind of fact that people now go out, buy a camera, they're a photographer. You know, nah, it's not that at all.
So how did you start then, before camera phones, before everything like that? What were kind of the bare bones of how you got into this career?
Well, I've been in this business a long time, and I've set my stall out to, I'm in it to be the best. That's why I do it. I'm not interested in photography, I'm interested in art. That's what I take. So photography is purely the medium that I use to capture the art that I produce.
Okay, so are you looking for the personality in the artist, or is it more than that?
It's it's a passion. It's a passion, Darren. It's a relationship. It's a sexual experience, a romance, an experience that you have to.
No, you haven't had
create
any sexual
for me.
relationships with these people, have you, Nick?
What did I tell you?
What a question! No secrets, guys.
It's a family show.
But when you are taking the perfect picture and when you're lining it up, what type of performer gives you the best shot? Is it the really energetic performers, or is it sometimes the kind of slightly quieter folk performers, which we'll talk about in a little while?
No, I mean, it really is characters. That's what it is. It's characters, and with the work that I do, it's all about getting into the actual personal side of what these people are, into their personality, to what makes them create the art that they create.
Yeah.
It's not about just taking pictures of bands. It's not about that at all. You know, so it's you can get a great shot out of a guy sitting in the street with a guitar.
Yeah.
You know, it hasn't got to be you know, Metallica. It hasn't got to be that at all. Iron Maiden, whoever. But obviously with bands like that, that have got such fantastic shows, have been in the business for so long. The whole experience of what a maiden show is about, or Motorhead and that kind of thing, it just adds to the whole menu of what you can create.
Yeah.
You clearly love the business as well.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, if I have a second passion to photography, it is music. I've been around it all my life. I know a lot about it, and I've featured very, very heavily in my life. It has.
Yeah. And you've wrote a series of books, and we've got your latest one here, 50 Folk. This is a celebration of 50 years of the Cambridge Folk Festival.
Yes, it's my personal celebration of the 50 years. It was the 50-year anniversary last year. But I've only spent 10, 11 years, coming up to 12 years there.
Yeah.
Working in various different guises with bands, record companies, or, with the artists.
And so why the Cambridge Folk Festival for you? Why does that stand out?
Well, it's basically because the one thing that I like about the Cambridge Folk Festival is the fact that it kind of moves the line. You get exposure to a lot of fantastic artists, a lot of those Americans who never ever come to the UK. Or they come, they do 1 or 2 shows, they go away. And the Cambridge Folk Festival has always showcased a lot of these guys, and I just love Americans. Nobody's like the Americans.
Yeah, they are great. And to get that one shot that you'd use for your book, how many pictures on average do you reckon you would take to get that one perfect shot?
Well, I don't take that many, Darren. Okay. It's not about...
You're that good.
Well, it's been said. But no, it's not about volume. It's about quality. That's what it's about. You don't have to shoot 6,000 shots to get 1 or 2 that'll melt your face. So for
face
me,
melting photography.
Face
That's what we look
rock and
for.
roll.
That's where we are. We're talking.
So is it still the traditional way? You could lock yourself in a dark room for hours on end?
Well, that's my background. The kind of traditional method, and still I like that. And actually, I'm starting work on a project this year that is going to go right back to that. And it's going to take a lot of some of the world's famous musicians and recreate these in the traditional method of photography, where the art started. Not Photoshop, not any of this nonsense.
Organic.
Traditionalist, brilliant.
Totally. Well, I think your photos are evidence
that
that works really, really well. Thank you so much for coming in.
No problem.
And it was wonderful to meet you.
It's been a good evening.
Cheers. Thanks, Nick. That's all we've got for part 1, but check in with us again in just a tick when we find out about the restoration of a lifeboat that helped save dozens of lives at Dunkirk.
And Dan and Tom visit the slopes of Trouse for a snowboarding masterclass.
Yes, but first, in honour of the fellas trying their hands at some winter sports, we've got a snow-themed What Happens Next for you. We'll see you in 3.
Hi you guys, so I'm here with Richard and Katie from the Utah Nordic Alliance of Utah, and you guys are teaching me how to cross-country ski.